Here we have another episode of Let's Talk Immigration, and we're going to have a really good conversation with Miss Akacia Muirhead. She has just joined the team here in Panama City Beach. If you missed her introduction, she was a budding attorney in Jamaica. But I'll leave Akacia to give her own introduction.
Hi guys, so for those of you who did not see my first video, I'm Akacia Muirhead. I'm just coming from Jamaica as an attorney there, and I am in the process of, getting myself relicensed to be an attorney here, and I'll be working with the one and only Sekou Clarke. So that's basically what's happening at this moment.
Okay. Yeah, so we wanted to have a conversation, a different type of immigration. I was always curious as to the life of an attorney in Jamaica and what it's like for them to transition into the U.S., but not only for attorneys, but for business owners, for highly educated people, for teachers, professors, specialized immigrants. We'll be discussing how they get to matriculate here, but I know Akacia has some questions for me, and I'm just really curious as to what life was like in Jamaica as an attorney, to see if I missed out on something in Jamaica, being a licensed attorney there, even though we do have a location in Jamaica. But yeah, I'm curious to see what I missed out on as a professional in Jamaica. So.
All right, to start off, firstly, when you leave law school, the actual legal field, the legal fraternity, is a lot different from what you are taught in law school. So there are these processes and these ways that you think things are going to go, when in actuality, in reality, a lot of those things are not the same. So it's like a culture shock almost again, from leaving law school to working in the Jamaica court system. And as a young lawyer, there's a lot that you don't know. But I guess that's not just specifically to us as lawyers. It goes across the board with many fields. There's a lot that you will not know leaving school and entering into the profession. And so it was just a culture shock for me, realizing that, I did 5 years, but I'm going to have to learn everything all over again because it is so different. And
that's similar to here, though.
Right.
Like being an attorney here, you go through a lot of challenges. The hardest one being is really finding yourself as a lawyer and really defining which practice area that you're going to. Then also having 80% of the people that you apply to telling you that you need job experience. Where are you going to get the job experience from if you just came out of law school and then you don't want to hire me? And then now you're making a significantly less amount than you expected, but then you also have student loans and you also have a life.
Yep.
You also have a life to live.
Right. So in Jamaica, depending on which area you're from will dictate if it's easier for you to get a job or not. So if you're in the Kingston area, you are highly likely to get a job. There are many law firms littered through Kingston, even though it's just small parts of Jamaica, and it's seen as the corporate area. So there are many business-like areas and law firms there for you to get a job. Now, for me, who was in Montego Bay, and for those who are in the West, like Westmoreland, Trelawney, it's a little bit more difficult for you to get a job because the law firms there are not as many. And with the law firm, there are a lot of sole practitioners who don't have junior associates or positions open for other young lawyers to join. So it's really difficult. And if you do find a law firm in those areas, chances are the pay will not be what you are expecting it to be. And I think that's one of the biggest shock and disappointment for many young lawyers who leave law school. The fact that after spending so many years in law school, spending so much money to complete this education, when you leave and you get into the working field, the pay isn't matching up with what you're expecting it to be.
So do you feel like that is like a deterrence for a lot of the young attorneys that once they come out and they get called to the bar, they get turned off, for lack of better terms, to stay in the profession because of the pay?
Most definitely. And not only that, the pay is little, and a lot of the law firms, they are demanding a lot from you. Fresh out of law school. And I mean, they always say it's trial by fire, though. That's how you're going to learn, by them giving you these things, sending it to court. And I get that to some extent, but sometimes the workload is really not matching up with the amount that they want to pay you. A lot of law firms also don't have like health insurance, travel allowances, little things that would make your life a lot easier. They do not offer it because, once again, they are sole practitioners, so they don't have those resources for the workers.
So, but I feel that is across the board in Jamaica. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in terms of highly skilled jobs, I mean any professional jobs, it seems as if, based on what I'm hearing, people leave Jamaica because they're not getting the appropriate pay.
For sure. Unless you're working with the government, who, for the most part, and still not fully for the government, they usually start you off at a higher salary starting out.
Okay.
However, with the government, it's sometimes very stagnant. So you'll start off with one good salary, but it rarely ever changes over a period of time. Meanwhile, in a private practice, you're more likely to start off with a lower salary, and as you grow in experience and skill, the pay can be raised. So,
okay, because and that is different within the U.S. because government attorneys tend to make a little bit less than, say, private attorneys or some sole practitioners. So it's reverse in Jamaica. But then the other problem that I heard is that a lot of the senior partners tend to stay in their positions forever.
Oh, yes.
So it creates like a barrier or a challenge for them, for the younger attorneys to...
Most definitely. Most definitely. At this point, I don't think retirement is in their vocabulary. They just keep going and going and going. And it doesn't free up enough space for younger attorneys or even younger professionals to really step into roles that they are capable of completing and doing well, and even bringing their own innovative twist to getting the job done. A lot of the things, I feel like, in Jamaica, we are stuck in certain ways, especially in the corporate industrial area, and it's because a lot of these older professionals are not freeing up space for younger people to step into those roles and really, give our own take on it.
So we're just talking about problems, but how can this be solved? Because, I mean, I've heard it from other younger attorneys, because especially when I am excited to go back to Jamaica to bring my knowledge, to bring my resources, and assist people there. But people are like, no, if I was practicing there, I'd want to come here. But I am excited about Jamaica. But, when I go there, hearing from the professionals, it's a different feedback. So, I mean, how do we close the gap?
In Jamaica, or you mean as a person, as a professional?
Well, both. So, in Jamaica, how do you see the gap being closed? Whereas local talent, right, they feel comfortable with building on their resources in the country, they're providing their services and are growing.
Why?
Why should it with the why? That was stuff right on top.
It is going to be a difficult gap to fill, because we're not talking about one tiny gap. We're talking about a gap that has been expanding over the years and bigger and bigger and bigger. At this point, the gap is the Grand Canyon. I mean, I think nobody can close the Grand Canyon. It's a big gap because a lot of the young professionals in Jamaica do not feel like the country is meeting their needs. Not enough jobs, not enough pay, not enough resources, not enough benefits. So even if you find a job that give you a good enough pay and have no benefit, or if you find a job where you have the benefit and have the pay, or if you find a job where you have the pay the far, there's all these problems, which one could say that these problems are here in a first world country. Mm-hmm. However, it is not as great as it would be in our country. And I feel like that is why Jamaica is one of those countries that suffers from brain drain constantly. Professionals are leaving, nurses, teachers, doctors, everybody's trying to find a way out. How do I get to the US? How do I get to Canada? How do I get out of this country? Not because we don't love our country. Jamaica is a beautiful place, and I have a great sense of pride whenever I tell anybody that I am Jamaican. Because if you're not Jamaican, no offense to the other Caribbean countries, y'all are killing it too. But if you're not Jamaican, you're really missing out on an experience, on a lifestyle. So it is, may just have to say, so it is a beautiful thing. However, the country is really not meeting the needs of professionals, and they are finding opportunities elsewhere that is definitely allowing them to grow personally, professionally, educationally, every alley you can think of. There are people and places and opportunities outside of the country that are allowing you to do that. So I feel
but I feel like I could be devil's advocate and say it's all about a mindset thing. It doesn't matter where you are, because you could come here and one, you have the immigration issue, right? Now, two, you're a bigger minority. Right. Three, the resources aren't readily available to you. You don't have people that look like you consistently readily available to give you a hand, right? You have more gatekeeping, right? Then you have the mindset that law enforcement is against you. But then you can have the mindset and be like, yo, I can win anywhere. Because that's how I feel. I feel like based on what Jamaica put in me, you can put me in the US, you can put me in the south of the US, the north, the south, you can put me in China.
Right.
My mindset says, okay, let's find out who, what, where, and when. And it's just a matter of time that the success is going to happen.
Right.
But can a Jamaican have that mindset in Jamaica and still win? Because, I mean, there are successful
for sure
lawyers and professionals, right?
Right. So for sure, your mindset does play a huge part in your success. Are you thinking positively? Are you thinking hard working? Right. So Kerry, you're not asking Kerry right now, but Kerry's in the background and she's really helping me with what's going on. Because Sekou is right, playing the devil's advocate, your mindset plays a huge role. However, your mindset can only take you so far. Mindset without money, mindset without resources, after a period of time, after years of putting in the work with the mindset, if there is nothing that is helping you with that mindset, if there is no mentor pushing into you and pouring into you in the right way, if there are no programs set up that help you to elevate your education, elevate your skill, if there aren't things in place, your mindset alone will not take you there. And so I feel like what we need to achieve as a nation is a healthy balance of both, where you have a good mindset as a person working and striving towards your goals, but there are also people in your community, in your job, in your professional space that are helping you, resources being allocated to help you, and things like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can definitely make your own opportunity, but it in of itself on its own will not be enough, I think.
Does Jamaica have a gatekeeping problem where you have, professionals, people who have already gone through the stages and the journey, and they withhold knowledge from younger attorneys or younger professionals, or they make it significantly more difficult for you to climb than that? Is there that situation or not really?
Okay, so that once again depends on where you're located. So I feel like in the Kingston area, from what I've seen, there is a gatekeeping culture there where you have hyper attorneys and attorneys with more money and more status, and they have their own little circle of people. And, you go back to classism and all of that kind of stuff will play. While when I was in the West, I have never met a more loving legal fraternity. Big up the Cornwall Bar Association and everybody from the West. The West is the best. But the West, they were so helpful to me on my legal journey. Once I was in court standing up, there was always somebody there who tried to help me. Always somebody who would pinch me, always whisper a word or say, don't say that to the judge, but say this. Always somebody there who wanted me to do better as a young professional coming up. And I think that it's such a beautiful thing. They don't have many competitions between them. It's more like friends. They will be in a court today, I'll come out tomorrow, and they'll go and for a drink. And I feel like that should be the type of space that we have, not only in the West, but in the entire Jamaica, because we cannot make it on our own. We make it because of people who have gone before us, who have helped us, encouraged us, taught us, mentored us, who can pull us and encourage us to do better. So,
I like that.
Big up the West.
Yeah, big up West as well. All right, so people think to brain drain, and you have a lot of professionals now leaving the country and coming to the US. But what I've seen on my side, which is the unfortunate thing, I mean, one of the worst type of cases I can see is when I do a consultation and I'm looking through the documentation and I'm like, all right, this person has their bachelor's, they have a master's, and they have a nice resume, and then I look and I'm like, oh, this person is out of status. So what does that mean? The person is out of status now. So that means that opportunities that would have been available to them when they're in status is now gone. Opportunities such as being able to transition to an ED1 visa and ED2 NIW. These are all visas, whereas if you have a professional degree, if you have a good resume, if your business is going to have an impact on the US, you can get a green card. And it pains me and it hurts me to see a person like this sitting before me, and I'm like, man, so now you're out of status,
right?
You have all these qualifications, all this time and effort that you spent gaining this knowledge, and then now you are now limited. You are now limited to a family-based petition, or now limited to having to leave the country, filing a waiver, and re-enter. And so the only thing that I can take away from that is that, there are circumstances. Things are going to happen in life, but then there's also misinformation or the peer. Like, if you are saying, man, I have to leave Jamaica, right? I'm qualified, I'm talented, I have good work ethic, all things that, you have those things that you come to the US, you are going to be better than 60 to 70% of the people. Mm-hmm. But then you don't plan properly. Then because of procedural things, you are now fighting with two hands behind the back.
Right.
Because that is what doing improper immigration is, especially as a person that has a master's or a teacher that has extensive experience, or an athlete. I've seen it happen to athletes as well, where you have represented the country, you have done great things internationally as an athlete or an entertainer, but then you make this move and then now you're stuck. And then because you put time into coming here and you drop a couple roots, then now you're stuck and you can't go back, which now subjects you to working under the table, cannot travel in, and then the talent is no gone. And, one of my missions as an immigration attorney, as a yardman, is to really try to put out the information that once you plan it out right, it can be done.
Right. And that's where you come in, because a lot of young professionals are miseducated or uneducated on the ways that they can migrate to the US. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about, adjustment of status. Everybody talks about asylum. Nobody talks about the business visa. Nobody talks about the educational routes that you can take. Nobody explains, how do I become re-licensed as an attorney in the US? How do I become a nurse over here? How do I go back into a school or become a teacher? Nobody tells them of these routes. I didn't know about the EV2 visa until a couple of days ago when you mentioned it to me. And it's not that I have not been watching immigration videos. It's not that I haven't been paying attention. It's just one of those areas that is not widely talked about, but it needs to be, because there are so many young professionals who are eager to step out of Jamaica and show the world what Jamaicans can do. Sure. I feel like Jamaica is one of the most educated nations. Like, if you go to Jamaica, down to the street man would have a bachelor's. Like, it's that bad. Everybody got school. From we young, it is stressed that education is the key to success. Education is the way to make it out of what we are currently in. And so most Jamaicans are very educated. But because of the circumstances that they've found themselves in, a lot of them have to sweep road, have to pack shelf, have to work under the table and do things that wouldn't be the usual jobs for somebody of their educational level. And if they had only known about the different ways that they could have migrated, had they come to an attorney and book a consultation, had they pick up the phone, and call our law office. Yes, me a plug Sekou, because that's what we're here about. If you had only called, you would have known that while you were within status, there are many other routes that you can take. And so that's why you're here, spreading information. We're having this conversation so people can know that there are other ways. Just book a consultation. You don't have to come because you are married or because you don't even have to be in the country. Book a consultation. If you're in Jamaica, there is a Jamaican office and our numbers can call anywhere. Book a consultation. I have this. How can I get here? And I'll tell you.
Yep. So I just wanted to share a conversation. Somebody reached out to me and she was like, hey, I just got called to the bar in Jamaica, right? But I want to do the New York bar. Can I just adjust my status after I do the New York bar? And I was like, well, no, but let me tell you the steps, right? So if you are an attorney and you want to practice, if you're an attorney in Jamaica or anywhere else in the world, and you want to practice in the US, what do you have to do? So typically the steps are, you want to find a state which doesn't require you to do the 3 years of law school, right? So you can either go to New York or California, right? You can either do that or you can do an LLM, and then you can sit a bar such as the California bar or the DC bar, and I think the New York bar as well, right? So that will be the role. But the challenge that attorneys run into is that I passed the bar, but that doesn't grant you any type of status, right? So how do you transition from that? So it takes planning, right? You have the EB2 visa, right, where you have something called permanent employment, right? But what this requires is that you would have to have a job offer. So a good thing that you can do is you can try to intern, right? And people don't know this. You can intern remotely from any country. You have lots of law firms doing that. So you can apply to a law firm and say, hey, I would be a virtual assistant as like a paralegal, even though I'm an attorney, but I'll do this just so I can show you the type of value that I can bring, right? You do that, right? And then say, all right, can you give me a job offer? If they can make you a job offer, right, it may not be the amount of money that you would hope, but it's a start.
Right.
But with that job offer, right, you can say, since you've seen the value that I brought to the firm, can you petition for an EB2, permanent employment, which is a green card, right? So what that means is that the actual law firm, they'd have to go through the Department of Labor, do their filing, then do a labor certification, then they can actually petition for you, right, to bring you on as a full-time attorney with a green card. The processing time total is going to be around 18 months. So that's one option.
Right.
Right. It's a little bit more challenging to do an EB2 NIW. So the EB2 NIW is the same EB2. It's a green card. It's the employment-based second category. The NIW stands for National Interest Waiver. So what that means is that for this one, it's a self-petition. So no, you don't need to have a job offer, but you have to be bring it in your petition. You have to be showing the U.S. government that, all right, I'm going to be starting this firm that is unique. So suppose it's in renewable energy, or you're going to be starting some type of business consultation or something, and you're going to be showing in your resume that, hey, I belong to these prestigious associations, I'm published, I've got recognized in my field, and this is the impact that I'm going to have. So that is what I was telling this attorney, that these are the different routes that you have to do, but it takes planning, right? And it takes intentional planning. So those are the steps. There's the EB2, then you have the EB2 NIW, then there's also the EB1 if you're a professor or somebody that does research. You're able to use that as a vehicle to get a green card as well. It's the same thing that will be required. They'll evaluate your resume. If you ever had impact in any field, if you have a master's degree, if you're published. So these are the type of things that getting the right information can let you know that, all right, I can plan it out 6 months to 18 months. I want to make this move. Let me put these things into place.
Right.
Let me get these things. If you want to do something quicker, there's an H-1B visa. So it's a visa, right?
Yeah.
But which requires you to have some type of master's or specialized degree, right? And a company can hire you as a tech person, as a nurse, as somebody in the medical field that's not a doctor,
Okay.
or even an attorney. Right? So you're able to get an H-1B, but you have to network, you have to make the connections with the companies.
Right.
Right? And also, I've also preached to the athletes and the entertainers, once you have competed internationally for your country, or once you have performed as an artist or a creator outside of your country, now it's time for you to look what type of visa that you can get to move into the US and be able to stay there. So, there are different routes.
Right.
Even for entrepreneurs, though, if you want to start a business, the EB2 NIW is a really good tool for that. Or if, say, you don't even want to live in the US full time, right? But you want to say, all right, I want to spend 6, 7, 8 months, go back to Jamaica. Well, use the E2 visa, where you can invest in a new or existing company. You can invest in a new or existing company where you're going to be 50% owner. Hire 2 or 3 people, and you'll be able to get an E2 visa, right? And the E2 visa allows you to stay in the US for up to 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah. You'll be able to work in that business. You'll be able to bring your spouse and children under 21. So there are options for the professionals in Jamaica, the athletes, the entertainers, but you have to go out there and get the information, and you also have to plan.
Right.
Yeah.
And attorneys can help you plan. Somebody who is very versed on the immigration field can help you plan. Planning on your own can sometimes prove difficult because you don't really understand the material that is before you. Because the material is there, on Google, the material is there. But you might need somebody in the field who has a better understanding of how these things actually run to actually get a good plan. And that's, again, where Sekou comes in, where other attorneys like him who are so well-versed on the immigration area can tell you that there are routes and ways for you to leave Jamaica, but leave Jamaica legally.
Exactly. Be intentional about it, man. I mean, as I say, it really burns me because, I truly believe, and I always tell people this, to me, Jamaicans are some of the most talented and versatile people in the world, right? Book smart, street smart. And once they do it right and come to the US, they will be better than 60 to 70% of the people here because of the work ethic, because of the way how Jamaica raised you and instilled in you
certain values.
Yeah, and instill certain values. Once you come here and do it the proper way, you would be able to utilize all those tools that you have.
Not only that, one of my favorite sayings, like favorite saying, is that closed mouths don't get fed. Closed mouths would never get fed. You know how I met Sekou? I was DMing this man on Instagram, okay? I found his Instagram, I was texting him. I sent his company several emails. I would call. I feel like I carry take most of my calling him. I would call. I would say, listen, I want an internship with Sekou. Can anybody get me an internship with Sekou? I emailed what I need to email, and I was so persistent and diligent in trying to get a job with him. At the time when I was doing that, I wasn't even looking for pay. As he was saying, he was talking about internship. I was so willing to intern just because I wanted the experience, the knowledge, the know-how, just because I wanted a way to put my foot through the door. And it paid off. I'm here, I'm working with him, and I know that there is so much growth that I'm going to experience in this company, and I can't wait for it to happen. So reach out to people, try to make good connections, network, and try your best. Put yourself out there. You're good enough to do it, and you can do it.
100%. It just come back to mindset. Like, one, you have to have the mindset to want to get the information, to be better for yourself, to do it the right way. Because as I said, being here without the proper immigration status is like fighting with two hands behind your back. Right? You'll stand up, but you ever get nicked, you ever get nipped, and you won't be able to defend yourself the right way. You might be able to get and walk, but you're still going to get licked. So be intentional. I remember when I was at junior in college, so I had 2 more years to graduate. That is when I started to plan my exit as to what I wanted my immigration strategy and my immigration plan to look like. And what did I do? As a 20-year-old, I linked an attorney and asked him, what is the route? I still did end up getting jumped, but I got out of it. And that same attorney was able to help me out of it. Right. But, I made the right connections and develop the proper network with this honorable mindset, wanting to be better and do better. So this was a nice good convo, right? And hopefully it was helpful. There's a different spin. There are different ways outside of a marriage-based petition, right? If you're an entrepreneur, a medical professional, legal professional, somebody with a higher level degree, master's, PhD, an artist, an entertainer, seek the information. We recently just got approved a Jamaican cheerleader, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
A Jamaican cheerleader. And what it took was a consultation. She's trying to go one route, and I was like, I want you to go and get approved. Let me look at some of your accomplishments as a cheerleader, right? When we filed it to USCIS, we got back a request for evidence because they're like, we don't think cheerleading even qualifies as an O1 visa recipient. But I was like, well, cheerleading will be at the Olympics, and here are the stats of this person. This person has represented the country in high school, and we were able to develop that file and got this cheerleader approved. That's definitely one of my proudest approval, because it wasn't track, it wasn't football or netball, it was cheerleading. How much Jamaican cheerleaders do you know? But the one that I know, we got her a visa.
So bet on yourself. Bet on yourself.
All right. Won't you speak?